Hey you guys, it's Trisha. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be bringing you my spoiler-free review for Because You Love to Hate Me, 13 Tales of Villainy, the short story collection. This review is going to be a little bit different. I am going to review each story individually, give you like a little thing of what I liked, what I didn't like about it, but I'm not going to give you synopses on this. And the reason being is because of the way this story collection is structured. So for those of you who do not know, this is done as a collab between a lot of well-known authors and a lot in the YA realm, and then booktubers. Each booktuber was paired with an author for this one, and with that, they gave the author a prompt. Then the author would take that prompt, it was like a one-line prompt or like a little phrase, and they would run with it and write. The prompts, you actually don't know what the prompt is until you finish the short story. After you read each short story, it tells you what the prompt was, and then there is a little essay by the booktuber who provided that prompt, who was teamed up with that author. I'm not going to give you the synopses on each of these stories because I think it was more fun not knowing. So I'm going to get into this. So the first story in this collection is The Blood of Imeriv by Renee Ahdieh. And this one, I really liked the writing. The writing was really beautiful. It was a little heady at times, like it felt very like it was too much up here for me. I ended up giving it a 3.5. The second short story is Jack by Amory. I think that's how you pronounce the name. I could be completely wrong. For Jack, I thought that the characters were really interesting. I really liked the societal insights that the story had in its depth. I ended up giving that one 4 out of 5 stars. The next one was Gwyn Art and Lance by Soman Chanany. I'm so bad at pronouncing things, you guys, but that one was number 3. I thought that was a fantastic base for a full-length story. It was a very interesting structure. I didn't connect with the structure all the way through, but it was still an interesting basis for what could have been a full-length story. I ended up giving that one a 3.75 out of 5. The next one is Shirley and Jim by Susan Dennard, and this one was so heartbreaking. I loved the character insight on this one. I really connected with the characters in this one. The only thing that would have made this one better for me personally, and I liked it the way it was, but the only thing that could have put it over the top would have been if it was an LGBTQ story. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. The next one is The Blessing of Little Wants by Sarah Enni. This one was a little confusing, and I kind of saw the twist coming on this one. So I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The next one is The Sea Witch by Marissa Meyer. This one I thought was very well told. The way that it was told, it was heartbreaking, but it was also predictable. But given the story that it was based off of, or the prompt afterwards, finding out afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, okay, of course, it was gonna be predictable because I know that story. But given the fact that it was predictable, it was very beautifully done, and I ended up giving that one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next one is Beautiful Venom by Cindy Pon. After I found out what the prompt was on this one, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that one's close to the original story on what it's being based off of. It was really interesting to see the cultural shift. Prompt was originally based in one culture, and then Cindy Pon gave it a cultural shift, which I think was very well done. And this one, I definitely wanted it to be longer. So I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next one was Death Knell by Victoria Schwab. And this one was so vague, and I did not care. I literally didn't care that it was like vague. There was just enough description in it. I absolutely adored the writing style, and I loved it. I loved that it was a journey of discovering with the characters. And I think that was very beautifully crafted. And I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. The next one is Marigold by Samantha Shannon. And Marigold, I thought was okay. I liked that it had a good folklore vibe. I liked that it had something morally that it was trying to say, but it kind of got annoying and I didn't know why. I didn't connect to it as much as I wanted to, and I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. The next story is You, It's All About You by Adam Silvera. I liked that this one was more of a contemporary feeling story. There was something that happened in this story that I just didn't understand why it happened. I don't even know why it was put in there. Like, I liked most of it up until that point, and then I was like, but why would you do that? Like, what was the point? And so I was really torn on this one because that one thing, it didn't sit with me, and so it caused me to not like the story as a whole. I couldn't give it a higher rating, and I gave it a 2.75. And I wanted to like it so much more if that one thing had just been different. The next one is Julianne Breaks Every Rule by Andrew Smith. This one was so humorous. Like, it reminded me of Superbad in a good way. Like, I don't really like stupid humor type movies like Superbad, but I actually quite enjoyed this story overall in the way that it was told. However, because I don't typically gravitate towards the humor of Superbad and the humor of stories like this, I'm glad that I read it, but I don't see myself picking up any type of book written like that ever. Like, it's just not my jam. It was enjoyable this one time in a short story format, but I would not enjoy it if it was full length. I did end up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next one is Indigo and Shade by April Genevieve Tucholke. I think that's how you pronounce it. The main character was completely arrogant, and I loved him for it. The way that this character was written, I absolutely loved to hate him. And in the end, I felt so terrible for that character, and I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And last but not least was Sarah by Nicola Yoon. And this is one that I loved the premise on it. The execution and the structure in it kind of, not completely ruined it for me, but it definitely dropped the rating. And I kind of guess that the reason that it was structured the way that it was structured is because it was one of those stories that was just so hard to fit into a short story that it needed to be structured this way, and it didn't sit well with me. The plot line of like what was going on in that one was quite well done, but the structure just, it wasn't my cup of tea. And so I did end up giving that one a 3 out of 5 stars. On this one, I had 2 standout stories and then a standout essay in this one. So my standout stories for this collection were Shirley and Jim by Susan Dennard and Knell by Victoria Schwab. Those stories I loved so much, and I loved them as individual short stories. Like, I thought they were great, but I could also not wanting to see more. Like, I would be happy if they were like short stories as they are, but I would also like to see them adapted into full-length stories. I think that would be incredibly fascinating. Whereas some of them in here, where if I felt like I wanted more, it meant that the short story wasn't enough for me. And in Shirley and Jim and Knell, the short stories were enough, but also I would like to see more. I would like to see them expanded. Those 2 short stories stood out so much to me, and I really enjoyed them. And then the standout essay in this one for me is, I loved the essay from Steph Sinclair and Kat Kennedy. It's called The Bad Girl's Guide to Villainy. And that one was so like lightly humorous, and I very much enjoyed it. I don't know why. It was the last essay in this collection. I like chuckled and like laughed out loud, and I thought that it was incredibly empowering, and I connected to it on a deep level. like a really deep level. That one was the one that was just like an all-star essay from this collection. With each short story's rating that I gave it, I did average it out to give the collection an average rating, and that average rating was a 3.8 out of 5 stars, which I guess would be what I would give it. Like, if I think about it overall in the terms of like, you know, how did I feel about this? Like, I feel like, yeah, it's almost a 4-star read. It's not quite, but it's almost there. And so I did very much enjoy this. It was a great stepping stone into short story collections for me. It was a great introductory to different authors that I have never read before. So I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. So even though it's not a 4 or 5 star read completely from me, I highly recommend this. All right, you guys, so that is it for my spoiler-free review of Because You Love to Hate Me short story collection. If you have read it, tell me what was your favorite short story in it. And if you want to see more reviews and videos from me in the future and you are not yet subscribed, please do click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.